This station is now the ultimate power in the universe.
This table is really tilted.
Excuse me? Am I gonna get a chance to speak?
Maybe I should take that back.
Denied. Damn, son, where'd you find this?
Take a giant step for mankind.
Welcome to the Tilted Table with your hosts, Sean and Joe.
Folks, welcome to another episode of the Tilted Table, the internet's answer to a question that no one asked. I'm Sean Kabibi.
And I am Joey Joe, the Fracky Mac.
And I'm just sitting here in the middle of the afternoon drinking my coffee because I'm tired.
Well, it's Sunday afternoon this time.
Yeah.
I understand that completely. So one of the things right before you fired up the microphones, we were talking about cool things like personalized drones and whether you would or would not fly one of them.
Yeah, I don't think I would. I know what they are. Like in terms of like, I think I know what I've seen them, whatever, on some kind of, I'm sure, YouTube channel or some bullshit. But I don't know how safe they are. I mean, like how practical they are, how real they are. Because again, I was saying to you, I thought that was AI what I saw.
There's a company that came out with a promotional video earlier today where they're kind of in the forest and they actually made kind of like racing pylon type of deal where they're like flying through the valley, and you're not like too high off the ground, 40, 50 feet it looks like.
That's high enough to die.
But yeah, they're flying along at like 100 miles an hour.
We make it seem like oh, they're not that high off the ground. I'm thinking they're like maybe 5-6 feet off the ground. They're 40 or 50 feet at 100 miles an hour. I said, it might as well just be at 33,000 feet at 800 miles an hour. It's the same result.
But it'd be a clever thing. So we also were talking about like underground bunkers and whether you'd want to live in a decommissioned Titan missile silo in North Dakota. And the answer for me is yes, I would love to do that. But I actually would fly one of those personalized drones. I think that would be really cool. It'd be a neat way to go to the grocery store and get loaded up and hop back in your drone and fly back home.
Well, they've been, talking about these things for years, which is the Jetsons, space car, whatever, that the cars that fly above ground. That's been part of sci-fi for 30, 40, 50 years.
Can you do the Jetsons car sound effect?
I barely remember, but it wasn't like some kind of nonsense.
It's like boop, 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 boop,
yeah. So yeah, I mean they've been talking about these types of things. It's weird because every sci-fi, at least from 50, 60 years ago when they started doing science fiction, every time they depict a car, their cars are no longer on the ground; they're all flying, which I guess makes sense because that's the next level, I guess, of advancement in transportation, which you'd be able to have like a personal flying vehicle, and so I guess now we have something that could conceivably be that thing. I remember when I was living in the Bay Area, and this is in the early 2000s, there was a dot-commer guy that was notorious. He had a helicopter, and he would fly his helicopter through San Francisco.
Really?
Yeah, like from one place to the other because he didn't want to drive in traffic. So, I mean, it's like, I mean, that makes sense to a certain extent if you're going from, like, let's say, San Francisco, maybe even, like, down to San Jose or something. But it was, like, literally, like, he didn't want to deal with, like, the Bay Bridge. But he'd fly the helicopter from, like, San Francisco to Oakland. I don't know where he was landing it. Obviously, they have helicopter pads. He probably built one. These guys are, like, stupid rich. He probably just built one on the top of roof of wherever he lived.
That's pretty awesome, man.
Yeah, so now we got personal flying vehicles that are essentially just large drones. Like I said, I don't think I would trust it.
Well, I mean, and that was one of the things I mentioned. It does have a built-in parachute for just in case.
Just in case.
Just in case.
If it's got a built-in parachute, that tells me it's not trustworthy.
But think of like it's got a propellers on each of the corners, so 4 corners. But what if like 2 of the propellers went out? I mean, you wouldn't want to just like fall out of the sky.
Well, I don't know. So remember the podcast we did where we talked about like these weird inventions, and one of them was the flying car.
Oh, our retrofuturism episode.
Yeah, right.
One of my favorites.
Right. where that guy tried to build some kind of flying vehicle. I can't remember actually. I think it was like a small truck or something.
No, it was an inflatable plane.
Yeah, and it's just So I don't know. I'm a little look at that. I know technology is advanced. 100-fold, 1,000-fold, and drones fly all the time. So I don't see why you couldn't create a larger version of a drone. I don't see the difference. Drones don't fall out of the sky. I'm going to say they do sometimes, but if you can build a large enough drone, it can carry the weight of a human being. I don't see why it wouldn't work.
Mm-hmm.
So
what was your answer to living in an underground missile silo in North Dakota?
No. Well, I don't want to live in North Dakota, and there's an inside joke on that one. I wouldn't want to live in North Dakota. I wouldn't want to live in a silo. I don't think. I guess it was done up nice. I guess I would.
Well, assume it's like ultra pimped out and super luxe and all that kind of stuff. But you're underground and you got like those blast doors that you got to get through if you're going from room to room.
See, I think it's too claustrophobic for me. I saw I can't remember what I was watching. This was on TV, so it wasn't on the internet. So maybe it was like Unique Homes or something. There was a guy that had built like a legit house, a legit tree house that expanded over the length of like 6 or 7 trees. So he had like each tree had like I guess it would be a room, right? And he had like a walkway that would go to another tree with another section. It was this massive thing he had built. I thought that was fucking dope as shit.
Like a Swiss Family Robinson on steroids.
Yeah. So yeah, and I can't remember where it was. It was somewhere in America. I'm assuming like a Wyoming or someplace. It was definitely out in the woods. And you got those big I'm just gonna shoot something like I guess redwood style. Those big thick trunks and tall ass trees, and he was able to construct these units in these trees. It wasn't a redwood. Redwood's too thin, but it was a big ass thick ass tree. And yeah, he had like one room, and then had like a walkway that would extend to the next tree. And they were all fairly close to each other. It wasn't like it was a super long walkway, but it was pretty. It was sweet.
That would be fun.
I'd rather be high up than under, but being under is definitely safer than being high up.
Yeah, well, I mean, the events of a zombie apocalypse or something like that, I would like to be in my secure my missile silo. That can take a direct nuclear hit.
But you didn't ask that question. You didn't say during the zombie apocalypse what I'd want to be. That would be the preferred place to be if there was a zombie apocalypse. Would be an underground style, silo.
What was the name of the Brad Pitt movie where it was the zombie apocalypse?
That was World War Z.
Yes. Never
saw it.
I'm not as you know, I'm not a zombie scary person movie at all. But that movie was crazy. I watched it. I wouldn't say I enjoyed it, but I think I sweated through like 2 T-shirts and had to like do wardrobe changes between the different scenes. But yeah, that's one of the things that prompted me into thinking, yeah, one day if I can afford it, it'd be great to have like a super tricked out missile silo. So in that event, I can take my giant drone and fly over there and go underground.
Well, I mean, people have those things anyways. I mean, there's the guy that lived. I mean, a lot of people live in like odd places. I mean, they have the abandoned silos, and I even think like I want to say bomb shelters have been tricked out in various ways. Mm-hmm. Yeah, so people live in those things, and there's the guy that lives in. I think I don't know what type of commercial jet it is, a 747 or some huge jet that's done with and abandoned. And so, I mean, people do this all the time. These odd places to live. I wouldn't be against any of it. I guess technically, it just depends on the situation and why I'm doing it. But it's not something I would actively seek out and do.
Or like, what's another one? I mean, would take a whole lot more work. But I forget where I saw it. There was somebody that had obviously tons and tons of money, bought a shipping container ship, and then made it into like a giant floating house, basically. Okay. But there was like tennis courts on it and basketball courts. I mean, because space is really, I mean, you had all the space you could possibly want. And I was like, oh, there's an idea. In the event the world comes to an end, you can just be like floating out at sea. Yeah. I saw an episode of something, and it could have been, it had to be on YouTube. I don't watch enough TV. But it was some guy that I think his whole shtick. It has to be YouTube. His whole shtick is like trends and fads. Like, are they as good as advertised? What's the reality of these trends? And one of them was the shipping containers turned into homes,
And so he went out and bought a shipping container and had all these engineers come in, and they tricked it out. And it ended up being fairly impractical, living space.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah, I see that stuff all the time. I find it fascinating, especially I see YouTube ads for these companies now that do build, like, essentially kind of these small, cheap homes that are just big boxes. And, you can plan
like the tiny home phenomenon.
These aren't tiny homes. These are actually relatively. I mean, they're not big. I'd say they're 1,000 square feet. So they're the size of an old home from like the 1950s or whatever. Basic 2-bed, 1-bath style house. And it's like call our company, and they're cheap. Cheap and relatively speaking compared to buying a quote unquote real house. And they look nice. They throw them up pretty quick. They're just like. I guess just like models, you just assemble them and you got a house.
Tab A into slot B. Oh, speaking of personalized things, I don't know if you've seen it. Popped in my Instagram feed a number of different times. I want to say they're in Poland, and they're personalized, not real tanks, but about the size of, like, do you know what a John Deere Gator is?
Yeah.
So it's about the size of a John Deere Gator, but it's a tank and it has a turret. And it shoots like giant paintballs, and they've created these full-on courses where you fight against a whole bunch of other tanks.
Yeah, I'm surprised that hasn't been invented earlier, considering that paintball shit's pretty popular. People go on those those courses and they go to war.
I think,
and they treat it like fucking war.
Yes, they do.
Yeah, it's like a Call of Duty thing. The people that are into that, it's like a weird kind of cross between the alpha male and the nerd, all in one. You're doing some alpha male shit, but it's the nerdiest shit ever. Running around shooting paintballs at each other.
I think it would be awesome though to have do a tank battle for a day.
That would be sweet. Oh, but yeah, for sure. You could take it back to like what is it, that old video game from 2600. The one that came with the system, and it had like 50 different tank games on it. What was that called? Was it? I would say it's Battle something, but I actually can't remember.
I'm pulling a blank, but I do know, and I just reach back in the mists of my mind, and I do remember that.
Yeah, what do you call it when the game comes with the system? I guess the inbox.
Yeah, it's kind of like the Master System type of deal.
Yeah. So yeah, it was the 2600 had that. It was Battle something. I swear. I say now I'm going to drive myself fucking crazy trying to figure it out. I don't know. I could look it up right now. Jesus Christ. We got the internet right in front of us. You can look it up. It's more fun to do. See, we're old school.
Yes.
Right? We sit there and like, fucking frustrate ourselves for 5-10 minutes trying to like, what the fuck is the name of that thing?
Well, speaking of funny living arrangements, what about...
I know what it was, called Combat.
Simple.
Yeah.
Simple.
I figured out eventually, okay, now that's satisfying, because if I would have looked it up, that wouldn't have been satisfying.
Right. What about like interesting travel living arrangements? And what I mean by that is, have you seen those specials on like super exotic airplane packages, and like to fly on Emirates? Where you have basically your own cabin.
Oh yeah.
Shower, your own bathroom. Yeah. I'm like, wow, that would be incredible to do just at least one time. I mean, if you could totally afford it.
Yeah, I just saw a dude on YouTube doing that, and it was like, it's got room service coming in with champagne, 3-course meals. He's got the whole nine. It's it's basically like a hotel room.
Yeah.
I guess like a hotel means like restaurant, because you're getting served food, and he's getting the hot towels delivered to him.
Yeah.
Yeah, he said it was $13,000. That's what I think that's what he said.
That seems really reasonable though.
For one flight?
For one flight, but with all of that? Because if it's Emirates, I mean, you're traveling internationally.
I'm assuming it's a long flight.
So you're like a 10, 12 hour or something like that?
It would have to be. So, but I don't know. So, like, what does that cost normal? Like, so what's the longest flight you could take to Australia? Maybe it's 18 hours?
Something like that.
Yeah, so what does that cost normally if you just go straight coach?
I don't know on coach. I know on business class, things have gotten just completely out of hand. It's like $8,000 a seat. One.
Well, I don't. So when we went from Cancun to LA, I upgraded our seats because I can fly. I don't mind flying coach as long as I don't have to sit for longer than about 2 hours. So like when we flew to Cancun, we went from Fresno to Dallas, and I think it was like a 2-hour flight, 2.5 maybe. And then you go from Dallas to Cancun, and so each stretch was about 2.5 hours, which I was fine with.
Yeah, that's fine.
I know, but when we were coming back, the flight was from Cancun to LA, And that's like, it was like 5 hours, and it was like, no way, I'm upgrading that shit to business class. And I think it was just double what I had paid. So I think it was about $900 a seat. It wasn't that bad.
Yeah, no. And for something like that, I mean, it's been years since Cookie and I have had a chance to travel, but the first time, so I guess here's the short stories. Growing up, like, we didn't have any money, so we didn't have money to travel, let alone plane tickets. And if you're plane tickets, you got like the super discount red eye flight. The seats that we get were always like by the bathroom door, like that kind of stuff.
Mm-hmm.
So it wasn't until under a whole flurry of circumstances, Cookie and I flew business class for the first time from San Francisco to Dublin, Ireland. And I remember it being such a magical experience that it was one of those things like I could never go back.
Yeah, I know. It's the same thing. When I went from Cancun to LA, I was just like, yeah, it's hard to go back to coach.
Mm-hmm.
But I planned my life where I don't, if I'm taking a plane flight and it is longer, I'm going to be in a seat longer than 2.5, 3 hours, I will always get a business class. But typically when I fly, I don't go places that I'm on a plane for longer than maybe 2 hours. I go to Vegas a lot. It's a 45-minute flight. I wouldn't pay for business class for that bullshit.
No. Who cares going to Vegas?
Yeah, right.
Vegas, you just want to arrive on time.
Right, yeah. So, I would totally, I'm all about the business class on longer flights. But I would think that a flight like that Emirates shit, you're definitely going to be on a long flight. And let's say it's an 18-hour flight. It still isn't worth $13,000. Not to me. I would rather just be in like maybe a typical first class. I think I'd be all right with that.
But what about being able to shower?
Well, I would sit my shower before I got on the plane. I can go 18 hours without a shower.
But how awesome would that be to be like thinking to yourself, I'm at, 20,000 feet up in the sky and I'm in my own shower.
I'm not saying I wouldn't do it. I just don't know if I'd pay that price. I mean, maybe a more reasonable price, I'd be down for it. But I've also seen the other, it's a type of first class. I don't know what it is, but they're mostly like large cubicles. And they have like, kind of like a, recliner style chair and TVs and shit like that.
Yeah, you basically have like a pod.
Yeah. See, now something like that I could get behind. And I can't imagine that would be more than a couple $1,000s.
Cookie and I have done that, Paris to San Francisco. And yeah, it was a do it once. I wouldn't say it was like that much better. Usually when we're on the Paris to San Francisco flight, again, this hasn't happened in a long time, but we would always fly business class, and to go from business to first, like, yeah, it was nicer, but not to justify like an extra, $3,000-$4,000 a seat.
Sure, yeah,
per person.
Yeah, it's mostly just to me about leg room and being able to recline your chair. Really, that's the thing I need, a little bit of leg room and be able to recline, because it's impossible. I mean, some people can sleep in coach. I can't. Yeah,
nope.
There's no way. I could be dead tired. I can't do it.
And it ruins, I don't know about you, but it ruins the first part of my vacation, because it's like if we fly from, say, in that example, San Francisco to Paris, I arrive in Paris like a flipping train wreck. Like I can barely spell my own name. I can't make it through customs. Are you here for business or pleasure? And I'm like, I don't know what I'm doing here. Like, right?
Give me a break. I just spent 8, 9, 10 hours in coach.
Yeah, it's like I've been awake for 20 hours, dude. Like, just stamp this thing and let me go up my hotel and sleep it off.
That makes sense too, because it's not like getting off in an airport in America where you just get off and walk out the damn airport.
Mm-mm.
Yeah, you have to go through a whole process, and it's really a drag. So if you've been on a plane for 15, 16 hours, well, not that long to say, but even 8, 9 hours, fuck that. Who wants to go through all that shit?
Nope.
Yeah.
Well, I am excited though. Let's see. What other interesting arrangements? Would you ever sleep on a houseboat? Like if you were in like a, why am I pulling a blank? What's in the Netherlands? Everybody smokes a bunch of pot and takes mushrooms.
Oh, Amsterdam.
Yeah. Would you?
I know that one real quick.
Would you? A lot of people live on those barges, like in the canals, as their house. Would you do that?
Well, when I was living in San Francisco, I was living in the Bay Area. There's a lot of people that lived in boats off of Alameda, in the little town of Alameda, It's basically an island, and off the coast of the bay in Oakland and San Francisco. It's not uncommon. I would totally do it in a heartbeat. Partly because the rent's so damn expensive, it is a cheaper way to probably live. So I wouldn't have any problem with it. But again, it depends on the boat. I don't think I'd want to be in something too small. Something that at least, I guess would be the equivalent of like maybe a small 1-bedroom apartment, a little bit of room.
Well, okay, so Amsterdam, I would say that would actually be a really fun experience.
Well, you're
life
talking
experience.
houseboats. So I'm assuming something larger with a little more.
Yeah,
Because
but
my vision of a houseboat is the big square thing that just floats. So
Yeah.
you think you would have quite a bit of space.
But I don't know that I would do it in San Francisco or Alameda because what about tsunamis or Godzilla?
Well, tsunamis are real, so there might be some concern. Godzilla is not, so not a concern.
That we know about.
Well, I think it'd be more concerned not about Godzilla, just the freaking crime. I'm sure boats got to be somewhat of an easy target. Mm-hmm. So I would think that would, I don't know, maybe not. I honestly don't know how often boats get hit. If you're living on the water like that, I just think that criminals, seems like it would be an easier target than a regular house.
True. Oh, and on that note, so the houseboat conversation in Godzilla got brought up by my buddy Rhodes the other day. So I want to shout out one of our many listeners in the intergalactic Kabibi-san. Rhodes, we hear you. Thank you for sending in all of your requests and your questions. And it's been a minute since Sean and I have had a chance to talk about King Kong versus Godzilla or Mechagodzilla or Mothra or any of those people.
Yeah, thanks, Rhodes.
Mm-hmm.
Welcome.
Welcome to the
welcome to the show. Yeah.
Ladies and gentlemen, may I have your attention, please?
Leave a like on the video. I know you're enjoying this. Can you shut up?
The internet's answer to a question that was never asked. The Tilted Table with Sean and Joe.
So wait, what are you talking about? Godzilla versus King Kong?
Well, it was, would you live on a houseboat
in
San Francisco Bay? Because I don't know. I just think of like all of the ocean events that could happen, and I'm not trying to be asleep and underwater at the same time.
Well, I guess the first thing you'd have to ask yourself is, when's the last time a tsunami hit that area? I don't think I've ever heard of one happening.
Do you need it to be a recurrence, though, to justify sleeping on the ocean?
Well, I think that you'd have to at least take that in consideration. That would be like, well, a massive blizzard in the middle of the desert never happened, so I wouldn't worry about it. I'm not saying it couldn't happen. Obviously, a massive snowstorm in the desert is not going to happen, but it just seems like it's rare enough, or if I'm going to say rare enough, I don't know when's the last time that actually happened, but I would assume because of the likelihood of it happening is so minuscule that I wouldn't be worried about it. And you get a tsunami warning, so if hey, there's a warning, get off the damn boat.
But isn't that the kind of thing like in Santa Barbara when they're having all of the flooding and everything? This was like 2 years ago, and Oprah wouldn't let people cross her property.
This is okay. So I remember that there was an earthquake in the ocean, and they put out a tsunami warning. But it seems like they started doing a lot of the tsunami warnings after the Japan tsunami from what was like 2016 or 17.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
So it seems like now every time there's an earthquake, they have to put out a tsunami warning. When before, I don't think they did, because it's not, the likelihood of it happening is relatively low. But I do know that when I think it was the one in Japan, it did hit us. Like, so they were showing clips of like Santa Cruz, and the boats in the dock they were definitely like up and down. So it came across the ocean and it created some waves. But so I don't know. Again, like I don't recall ever hearing about a tsunami ever hitting California. I mean, we had the earthquakes and the famous earthquakes in San Francisco, was it 1912 or whatever it was. Mm-hmm. So we have those events. We had the Northridge quake in LA that absolutely leveled Los Angeles. But I have never heard historically of the tsunami of 1923 or some bullshit like that.
Well, I guess on the flip side of that is one of the, and I'm not an expert on ordnance and any of that kind of stuff, but I do know that Russia's developed the Poseidon torpedo. Have you heard of this? Where it's basically it's not intended to necessarily hit anything, but it's a nuclear device that's meant to trigger a tsunami to wipe out coastal regions.
Yeah, I guess a nuclear bomb could do that.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
But and this torpedo is specifically designed for that. So yeah, I don't really plan on living by the coast. Hence my idea of living in a nuclear hardened missile silo in North Dakota.
You're just one of those guys. One of those what do you call them? Those paranoid,
I'm not a
doomsday
prepper
guy.
Not a prepper.
Doomsday prepper.
But it's kind of like one of our other podcasts talking about Skynet. I don't think that's going to happen, but if we found Terminators walking up and down the street one day, it wouldn't surprise me. They'd be like, "Oh, that day has finally arrived. Great."
Again, of the Poseidon bomb. I mean, I just saw a video that was wild. Where it's one of those animation videos where they went through what would happen if every nuclear weapon known to exist went off at the same time. And so they break down like how many warheads that we have, how many warheads that they presume Russia has, and they start breaking all these things down. And I can't remember the actual number that they'd come to, and it's thousands of these things. And if they all went off at once, what it would look like, and it would like literally crack the earth in half.
Seriously?
It was some shit like that. It would absolutely just crush the planet. And so, I mean, obviously, if they had like a Poseidon, weapon, like a nuclear bomb, you should. I know for a fact I know for a fact, like I'm some scientist, but like if you set off a nuclear bomb underwater like that, it would have to create a tsunami. It would. I would assume it would. I mean, just one of those bombs. It's insane the devastation a nuclear weapon can create. It's absolutely unreal.
I thought it was fascinating when I heard about it, because then I started like Googling a bunch of different things, and I was like thinking to myself, is this the first time a weapon has been designed necessarily? It's not about the weapon, it's about the effect of the weapon, and just devastating an entire coastal region.
I think, well, I'm sure it has been thought of, and that would be my first thought. And I could definitely, and I don't have any specific examples, but over the years, I have heard about things about weapons that could create some kind of, trigger some sort of event like that, whether it would be like, a tsunami. In my head, I'm thinking about something that was supposed to like explode in the sky and rain a bunch of shit down, and it somehow screws
Fallout.
it wasn't just fallout. It was somehow fucked with the atmosphere in some kind of weird way, and it would deliver some kind of devastation. So I mean, yeah, I'm sure that it had to be a thought of Russia's not the most innovative country in the world. So if they thought of it, other people thought of it probably way before they did.
Well, the final paragraph in the article is, why they have never tested it?
I would assume because they would create a tsunami and destroy like a bunch of shit.
Well, it'd wake up Godzilla. That's what would happen.
Oh God!
You totally saw that one coming.
Well, who was his main rival?
King Kong.
No. It's in the Godzilla universe.
Mothra.
Mothra.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. What's he? Is it Tiak? Is that one? I'm not a Godzilla person, so why do I think Tiak? Is that a thing?
I watched all the new Godzillas. The latest one I thought was fantastic. And there's an Apple TV series about Godzilla that I thought was really spectacular. And Cookie's not into any like sci-fi type of fantasy stuff like that, but even she was like, this is really, really good.
Oh, okay. I never got into Godzilla. Oddly enough, though, when I was a kid, I had a Godzilla toy. It was a gigantic toy that you had a lever on the back of his head, and a little fire stream would shoot out. But I never got into. I always thought it was stupid. I guess at some point I didn't think it was stupid. I was a kid that bought the toy, but maybe it was because it was just a gigantic toy. I think when I was a kid, I was enamored with large toys.
Did you ever play, like through this phase of your life? Did you ever play the video game Rampage?
Oh God, yeah, that's a great game.
And you know what? They made Rampage into a movie.
Oh yeah, they did. Yeah, with The Rock. Wasn't The Rock in that?
Yeah.
Stupid. I mean, not to do anything these days in Hollywood. It's a cool, for people that don't know the game, you choose a monster, whether it's like a large gorilla or a lizard, and each round is a bunch of buildings.
Well,
and you climb up the building and you smash down the buildings and you grab people and eat them, and then helicopters are flying around and you can knock the helicopters out of the sky and eat the people.
Yes.
Yeah.
But technically, it's supposed to be Godzilla, King Kong, and then Werewolf Man.
Yeah, there's a large. It wasn't like a large lizard character.
Mm-hmm. Godzilla.
Oh, okay, that makes sense. The graphics may have not have been as good as I remember. I didn't connect that was a Godzilla creature.
It was a solid 8-bit graphic.
Yeah, it was solid 8-bit graphic. That's a great game. That's a fun game.
It was definitely, when you said toys in your childhood, like that was one of my all-time favorites, where I'd stack up all of my quarters on the bottom of the screen, and then my brother and I would just like wail away at the pizza place for my dad thought it was the greatest, because he would meet his buddies there like and have pitchers of beer and give us like quarters, and that was my brother and I, like every Friday night we were playing Rampage. It was great.
The only game I ever got obsessed with on that level where I was playing it nonstop was when Double Dragon first came out.
Oh, that's such a good game.
I mean, at the time, it was so. I felt like it was so dynamic. Like, first of all, it's just street fighting, and you're beating the crap out of people, which never had seen.
And you had 2 people. It was the first time with 2 people.
Well, no, there were other games that had 2 people, but the thing I liked about it was you had people would come at you with knives and bats and whips and bars, and you could pick those weapons up. And
oil drums
and throw them. And they had dynamite you could throw, and if you had to get the guy to kind of walk near it and explode, you could throw them off of. There was a lot of pits and ledges, and you could throw people off stuff. And
it was side scrolling, but you could still go up. Like you could still kind of navigate you
could climb up ladders and go on the upper ledges of like buildings and things like that.
Yes.
And then they had the big. I don't know in terms of scale. They were the big dudes that came out with the mohawks, and they were like 9-10 feet tall.
Yes,
yeah, that was a fun game.
I really enjoyed that.
Yeah.
In fact, I still own that game on original Nintendo cartridge. I haven't obviously played it in years, but I have it just for nostalgia purposes.
Yeah, I played it not too long ago. You can get this. You can play them free on the internet. So it was probably about a month or 2 ago. I went through the game and I beat it. The game was fun and it was difficult, but once you found there was one move, and once you discovered you can do this one move, you were unstoppable. You could beat everybody hands down. It was the elbow. If you just use the elbow, no one can even touch you. Yeah, it worked every time.
There was also the quick follow-up to Double Dragon, which was the video game Bad Dudes.
Bad Dudes was another beat 'em up. It spawned a bunch of games. It was Renegade, Bad Dudes, and then was it Final Fight?
Yes. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, where you just walk down the street, and that was like Double Dragon on crack. It was just shit flying everywhere, and every time you kicked, it would have the trail, like it was an animated trail.
Yes.
And where Double Dragon, I think, generally speaking, the fighting was more, I want to say authentic. It's an old video game. But yeah, you couldn't, do super punches and crazy jumps and spin kicks and do all this wild shit. Final Fight was just a cavalcade of bullshit flying at you, and then you could fucking do all this wild shit and just kick the shit out of everybody.
So what I hear you saying is when you do trick out your own missile silo, you're going to stock it full of these video games so that you can tell all of your kids this is what the world's like on the outside.
Yeah, right. That's the old. That's what the world was like on the outside. It was Double Dragon. Dudes just kidnapped your girlfriend, and you had to walk through the streets and beat the shit out of hundreds of people to save her.
Yes, you shank people with toothbrushes. Oh, so good.
There was a video game, and I think it was in Japan exclusively, but of course, because of technology, it made its way over to America. It's called Baseball Batman, and it's the most insane fucking game. I can't even look. I could try to describe this thing.
Is it what I'm thinking?
I don't know if it's. I'm sure it is because you've got that kind of brain. First of all, I'm thinking about the game right now and what goes on in this game. I'm like, this is something Joe would design. It's just insanity. It's all these creatures and wildness and just weapons everywhere and just nonstop flashing and colors and shit. Because it was one of those video games that was a little bit like, let's say 90s. So the graphics are definitely a lot better. Okay. And it's just, I can't even, like, what's the point of this game? It's like, it seems like to me, a bunch of guys got into a room and they may or may not have been doing drugs. And they just said, like, what all the shit that like attracts the eyes, the flashing, the weapons, the colors, and the crazy characters, moving at 1,000,000 miles an hour and just shit exploding nonstop and shit getting thrown around nonstop. That's Baseball Batman.
I like it.
I think it's called Baseball Batman or Batman Baseball. No, it's Baseball Batman.
Yeah, I'm actually going to bookmark this.
But it's an insane game. And there is a thing where I guess after each round you kind of move the characters around on a map or something. And it's fucking wild. The things that they come up with. It's what I've always thought about, Burger Time, which is probably my all-time favorite, old school game.
Ninja Baseball Batman.
Ninja Baseball Batman.
It's a cult classic 1993 arcade game.
It's fucking nuts.
Oh, this looks great.
As a matter of fact, if you didn't even like video games, this would be a video game I would tell you to play just because I'm sure every sense is just being overloaded with all kinds of dopamine. All the shit that kids are in today, scrolling, whatever, they get their dopamine high. That will overload you.
Do they have it on one of those cool, I don't think we've talked about this before, and we don't need to go down this long, dark rabbit trail, but the video game company Arcade 1UP.
Yeah.
Do they have Arcade 1UP for this?
They do not.
We should drop them a line. Invite them on the podcast.
Yeah, well, I have an Arcade 1UP Dragon's Lair, which I want to get rid of. I think I was drunk when I bought it, but nonetheless, I love the animation of Dragon's Lair. Is just a crazy game, and it was so ahead of its time. But the artwork, Don Bluth is just an amazing animator. Mm-hmm. And playing a cartoon is wild. Back in 1982, 83, I was like
100%. It's the first video game to cost $1, which. Back in that era, that was unheard of.
Oh God, yeah. I mean, shit. That's when $1 was worth $1. Mm-hmm. So yeah, and you died quick because if you didn't know the patterns, you're screwed.
Yep.
Yeah. So yeah, I got that, but I've heard nothing but bad things about Arcade 1UP in the last maybe 2 years. Quality was never that great to begin with, but I think a lot of the people, and it's gone down. But I think a lot of the people that were into Arcade 1UP are these old school arcade heads and video game heads, and they would complain about stuff that I think normal people just simply wouldn't even notice. The joystick isn't as good as like it could be, and you had, like these people would complain about having to upgrade the joystick, and I'm just like, well, I guess if you're a video game file, that this is something that would probably bother you because they're IKEA cabinets basically.
Yeah, I mean, I have an Arcade 1UP, Pac-Man, Galaga, like all the stuff. And yeah, I mean, I'm no carpenter, and I put it together in like 40 minutes. It wasn't a big deal.
Yeah, so they're not, it's not a legit cabinet, and they're 3/4 size. So they're not quite as big as a regular cabinet. So I can kind of get it, but a lot of people have been complaining lately that the quality's dipped down. That it's not just the cabinets themselves aren't, real cabinets. So you have to deal with the fact that it's like piece of IKEA style furniture. But I guess the actual video games themselves, the emulators that they use, they're screwed up in some way. Like somebody was complaining about Dragon's Lair in particular, that at the end of the game, when you save the princess, the audio falls out of sync for that particular scene when the princess tells you, "Oh, thank you, Dirk, for saving," whatever she says. That it's not perfectly in sync. Like, to me, even if I noticed it wouldn't bother me. I can give a rat's ass about something like that. But they were talking about other games that have come out where like the emulators aren't right and things are glitchy, and the Arcade 1UP just doesn't give a shit anymore. And another person I had seen was talking about how Walmart has stopped selling them. They're not selling because the reputation is getting so bad. So they're starting to say the company might be going under at some point because they're just pumping out now just absolute garbage. That if you went back to the beginning, they weren't that great to begin with. They're just basically emulators that are housed in IKEA, replica cabinets. So,
well, I think that's one of the things I think I've seen on Instagram, maybe some YouTube videos where guys you're in my age now have like a whole room or a wing in their house where they've recreated an arcade.
Yeah, I've seen all that stuff on YouTube.
Oh, it's so great.
It's pretty dope.
Yeah, especially with all the machines on at the same time and the sound and the, they'll do really trick lighting in the room. Yeah. And I think it's just bananas. I would love to have something like that.
Well, I think the other thing that they're facing is that, once those things got kind of some steam on them, a lot of companies, you can get them on Amazon. They're more expensive, but you can buy legit like a tabletop style or a stand-up cabinet, and you can get any graphic you want on it. You want a Pac-Man graphic or Burger Time or whatever you want. They build that cabinet for you with that graphic on it, and it has like 5,000 games in it. But these are coin ops, so you can choose to have it actually operate on quarters, or you can switch it for free. And it's a legit cabinet, and they're like $3,000, $2,000-$3,000 for one of these things. And so I think a lot of people are starting to say like, well, why would I buy an Arcade 1UP? Other than the price is a little bit cheaper. I think Arcade 1UP's what, $800 or something like that.
Even less. I think I got mine for like $300.
Yeah, so they're not terribly expensive. And so that's the only advantage. Why would I buy that when I can buy an actual like legit machine that has way more games? Because they stack these things with like fucking every game that was made from like 1980 through the 90s. And so I know one that I looked at, I think it had 2,500 games on it.
Jeez Louise.
Yeah. And so, but I think it was like $2,600, $2,700. And of course with the shipping, those things they're heavy. And, you have it hauled in. So I would see a lot of those people, and even I, when I bought the Dragon's Lair, in hindsight, I wish I would have just said, well, screw Dragon's Lair, because it's not. Dragon's Lair doesn't have a lot of replay value. It's basically a movie.
Yes.
And once you learn how to do it, you can walk through all the different scenes, and you're just watching what amounts to a Disney film, which is pretty dope. But in hindsight, I'm thinking like, well, my Dragon's Lair has 3 or 4 games on it. It's Dragon's Lair 2, and then the other cartoon video game, Space Ace.
Oh, I love Space Ace.
Yeah, and so it has those, but that's it. I would rather spend the extra, let's say $1,500, even $2,000 to get a legit cabinet that has 2,500 games on it.
Mm-hmm.
So, I mean, that's, I think, where a lot of people are leaning now. So Arcade 1-Up has to be suffering from those secondary companies that are putting those things together.
I want to play your Dragon's Lair. I want to relive my childhood.
Right? We'll go 2 players and see how long you last. Have you ever beaten it?
Never.
I've never beaten it either. I don't have enough time to fuck around with it. So there's some parts of Dragon's Lair that the scenes are, some of them are pretty straightforward. Once you learn the patterns, it's just about timing. But a lot of them, like, it's hard to tell when you're supposed to make a move. Like, there's one scene where the two, like, the balls are spinning around and you have to run in between them. That. Now, somebody has said on the internet, because of Reddit and everything, like, they'll tell you the spot you're supposed to push forward so you can make it through. But even people say on Reddit, like, that's generally when you're supposed to do it, but it doesn't work all the time. And, like, a lot of people say it's just a crapshoot when you do it to try to get through that.
Yeah.
So, I've never beaten it, and I got it in my room. I could play it all day long and figure it out. But the first thought when I was like fucking with it when I first got it, like I should go through it and try to beat it, learn all the patterns and be able to beat it. My first thought was like, well, then I got Dragon's Lair 2, which I've never even played. I didn't even know there was a Dragon's Lair 2. And I'm like, then what am I going to do? I have to sit and try to figure that one out, and then Space Ace after that.
Hey, when you're trapped in your underground missile bunker, I mean, you have lots of time on your hands. That's what you should use it for. And
I'll leave it at this. I tell you this right now. The greatest cartoon video game, my favorite game, and I spent a lot of money on it, way more than I ever did on Dragon's Lair, was Cobra Command. That game was fucking fun, where you're flying the helicopter. And that was a lot easier to play. It was basically kind of point, shoot, and follow the directions. And it would blink on your screen, like turn left, turn right. And there was a command center. So if you're listening to the game, you can hear him tell you, like, come up, turn left, up. So it would prompt you on which way to go. But the cartoon graphics in that were super dope, and it was a lot easier to play. It was much more fun. My favorite, and then for my bunker, is going to be, I have 2 standalones for The Simpsons. Okay. Or Ninja Turtles, the 4-player. Oh yeah, that Ninja Turtles game is dope. It is super awesome. I mean, if I was in a bunker and I had some stand-up games, I'm gonna have to have. Sadly, Double Dragon, even though I could beat the shit out of that game on any given day, Burger Time would have to be at top of my list. It's such a fun game. And then Miss Pac-Man. Ooh, yes. Maybe a Frogger machine. I like Frogger. Yeah, it's a cool game. Yeah. Well, I enjoyed our trip on what we're going to do when we start living underground. Right. Or in the trees, right. Just not on the water. I love the fact that we can take a subject about, underground silos and living quarters that are like that and still turn it into some sort of nostalgic video game conversation. Living our best lives. Living our best lives.
I have an important announcement for you, so stay tuned.
Yo, that's some next-level shit, bruh. So you got me. Big deal.
The internet's answer to a question no one asked. The Tilted Table with Sean and Joe.
Folks, thank you for joining us for another episode of The Tilted Table, the internet's answer to a question that no one asked. I'm Sean Kabina. And I am Joey Joe, the Fracky Mac. That's just going to be my silo 24/7. I look forward to when I'm living underground, I can refer to myself as a mole person. Peace.